Now let's take a look at the concept of standard deviation in Excel. So as an idea, standard deviation is not difficult to understand. It is how far away from the average of a set of numbers do we stray. And you can do these comparisons from one period to another or compare one group versus another at the same time. So in our case, we have a number of shipments of a product called Vexol bulb. So it's the same product shipped by two different teams, and this is only for the month of November. So there's a logistics transportation team called Team A and a Team B. Team A made these shipments in their territory, and Team B made these shipments in their territory. So we're going to calculate some numbers around that and then try to explain what standard deviation means, right? So have a look. For this particular order, 8,520 units were shipped. 350 were damaged in transit or on dock. That represents 4.11%. So that's simply this number, 350 divided by this number, right? So let's go over here and find out, first of all, how many shipments there were, right? So use the count function, equals count bracket, highlight the number of shipments using your mouse, and press enter. And that was 30 shipments. And we'll do the same thing for team B. So equal count bracket, and just highlight these cells right down to the bottom, and it will tell you that that was 29 shipments. So roughly is a very similar sample, right? But often you'll have more in one group than the other. Now the average of the damages would be equal average bracket, and we're going to do the percent. So what's the average percent damages across all shipments by this particular team? Which is, let's format this for percentage, 6.29%. So repeat that for team B, equal average, and let's highlight the percent damages and press enter. So we can see that team B versus team A is roughly similar, but not quite. So 6.29% damages are team A and 6.8% damages are team B. Now, that is the average. What I'd like to know is from the average, what was the deviation by all of these numbers combined, right? Not, average, you have to look at it a whole different way. They're skewed by highs and lows and so on. So what we're going to do is use a function called STDEV. And if you look, it's going to give you several choices here, .p and .s. STDEV itself will also work, okay? So let's use .p, which means that we have our entire sample or our entire population represented here. These are all the shipments that were made in the month of November. It's not what like we only looked at shipments out of every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to come up with an average for the week, right? So we're going to use .p, and a bracket opens up, and what we're going to do is just highlight all of these numbers, right? The percentages that we averaged in the first place. Now let's take a look, press enter, and my standard deviation is 0.106. Now let's do the standard deviation for, let's do .p. We'll do it for team B as well. Highlight it, and let's take a look. So let's make it again 2 decimals. So take a look at this. Here's how you interpret it. Out of all the shipments that Team A made, certainly they had lower average damages. But again, like I said, if you had a high number of damages, like a whole truck just got lost or something, that number is going to be skewed higher. But out of all the numbers, they deviated from the average by zero point 0.1, which a 0.1 of a percentage, right? For Team B, they had higher averages in terms of total damages, but they only deviated 0.09, slightly less than Team A. And what that kind of shows you is if the deviation from the average is relatively low, that means that out of all the individual shipments in this case you made, there's a element of consistency. But if your deviation is high, it means that out of all the individual shipments you made, there's very little consistency, meaning that each driver or each shipment or each customer who's receiving the shipment is treating the delivery slightly differently. Okay, so if it's a case of, let's say, employee productivity or production runs out of a machine, if you have a high standard deviation from the average, it means there's something that the company's not doing to maintain some element of consistency. Now, you wouldn't mind that if it was a bunch of artists drawing pictures. You don't necessarily want consistency. You want creativity and difference. A low standard deviation, I think, would suggest that you've managed to create a culture and a system within your processes, in this case logistics, that allows for consistency over a period of time. So let's have a look. If I achieved a deviation of 0.095 today, and management gave me funding or resources to make improvements. For example, driver training, new fleet of trucks, improvements in the trucks, or better customer relations at the dock. Then I can lower that standard deviation by next year, and that's an indication that I've done something to make my processes that little bit more consistent over a sample. Okay, so have a look, practice with that, and certainly Google to find out more interpretations of standard deviation, and rely on your professor who's teaching you project or production or planning to explain more in detail what that might mean.